Howdy, y'all. So on the next episode of Ricky's Big World, we gonna spill all the tea.
He had opened the stove up, and when he did it while he was bending over to reach for something else. Well, the Earl from the meatloaf caught fire, and as soon as he opened up, the oxygen hit it, it blew out the rear parts of his pants.
Back in the Pizza World caverns, behind the test ovens, and in reality next to the bathrooms, it's Ricky's Big World.
Don't start with me yet. Oh, no. Hi, this is Ricky with Ricky's Big World. It's another edition. We're trying the gluten-free pizza today, and it's hot, man. I ain't talking about like hot off the presses. No, I'm talking about hot like lava. God! Here, take a look. There, it's hot. Anyway,
Can I have a slice?
you sure you want this?
Yeah.
This is gluten-free. Tell them about it, Kyle.
Marinara and cheese.
Okay, come on.
He goes marinara and cheese.
Come here, you gotta talk a little closer to the camera so I can hear you. You gotta be on the camera.
It's a roasted cauliflower base with marinara and cheese.
Oh, hot.
And it's
Look.
really, really hot. Oh. Family, we've got our thumbnail. Clicked on a good one today. Starting out strong.
I'm starting to cry.
You know it's a good episode when we start out the podcast like this. You okay?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Can you feel your mouth?
I gotta feel my tongue.
Yeah. You burnt everything.
Okay, so what are we talking about?
Are you sure you can talk after?
I don't know if I can talk. I burnt the fleshes and the future flesh off my tongue.
This could not have been more serendipitous because I want to talk about cooking disasters.
That was not a cooking disaster, though.
No, but you eating this was a disaster of some sort.
No, it was a reaction.
I bet your mouth feels otherwise.
My mouth. Well, even my cheeks are burnt too. Oh my god.
Yeah, that's what happens if you eat it right out of the oven.
Oh lord.
Question though,
What?
how is the gluten-free crust?
Let me tell you something. Let me just show you. So I did it on a thin crust, and it is so good.
Hot.
But it's cheese, marinara sauce.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
He wanted you to taste the crust, so he just took like a basic pizza.
Oh. Okay, that's hot. I'm gonna let it sit there for a while.
Eventually we'll get this episode started, I think.
All right. So, cooking disasters.
Well, I asked this for a very specific reason.
Please tell me why.
Before you left, you had an accident in the kitchen.
Who had an accident in the kitchen?
You.
What you mean?
Some oil had popped and got your face.
They did.
So I don't know if people realized a few episodes back, Ricky's face is a little redder than normal.
I
That's
cooked.
what happened.
I was good.
Yeah. He
Oh,
cooked
you
himself.
talking about, yeah, when I had my face was all red, that red.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was cooking up, so I think it was a fried chicken. I forgot what I was cooking. What was I cooking? Remember?
I don't remember.
I was more worried about, my face not peeling off. So I got my grease like real hot. And if I'm right, I remember, I didn't let out, it was chicken wings. I let my chicken wings fall out half the way.
Oh my goodness.
And so...
Wait, hold on. Shouldn't you have known this? You tell us about the turkey all the time.
There's difference between frying the turkey outside in that extremely lavanous oil, all right? I'm talking about just something on the stove. They don't get that hot. So, and sometimes...
Tomato.
There ain't no tomatoes. We ain't put no vegetables in this store. Hold on. So, a lot of times when you fry chicken, when it's still frozen, it adds extra moisture into it. So I like to do the chicken wings sometimes like that. Takes longer, but I went to put one chicken wing in there, and all of a sudden it started bubbling up. Everything else, pop, just started just throwing grease at my face. My face was so red and just like tomato. No, we're gonna say raw steak instead. It was not pretty. Burnt me all up.
Yeah.
So
it got me thinking, how are you in the kitchen normally?
I'm good in the kitchen. What's you?
You don't have any other...
I mean, I've had some issue. Like, I like frying bologna.
Frying bologna?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I've ever had fried bologna.
Well, try it. But if you do try it, cut a little slit into it. But if you don't, it'll bubble up and throw itself on you and attack you.
Oh.
So I had my cast iron skillet, had all buttered up, greased up. I mean, it was so good. And I walked away for a second. I realized how hot it got. But I had taken my bologna and I slapped on it. And I forgot to cut the little V out of it so that it'll, release some of that heat out of it. Mm-mm. I put on there, a dome started forming. And I just happened to look down. As soon as I looked down, that dome popped. And bologna juice all over the place. Red got in my eye, my eyebrow.
Oh my goodness.
Hairline, everything. And so I cooked and I gave it to Jackson. And I went and made some more. Well, this time I added some peanut butter to it. And I put peanut butter in the cast iron skillet.
Peanut butter and bologna?
Yeah, it's good.
Okay.
You fry your bologna with the peanut butter because the peanut butter oil fries real nice at higher temperature. So I fried it up like that and I put it on a piece of toast. I tore that stuff up. It was so good, but it gave me the bubble gut like you wouldn't believe. I was bubble gutting everywhere I stepped.
I've never heard of peanut butter bologna.
What you think peanut oil is?
Well, I know what the oil is, but to put like the butter part of it in there too?
Mm-hmm. Well, it adds a little sugar to it.
Now,
and nobody else like it. But
I was going to say, is that like a southern delicacy? Or is that a Ricky delicacy?
No, I know a lot of people who like fried bologna with peanut butter. It's good, especially on crackers. That's real good. Crackers. But you can really mess it up though, because the meat, you got to get the temperature. What I like to do is I like to cook the meat first. Get it to where I really want it, and then do a thin layer of peanut butter in the cast iron skillet, get that hot, and then put the cooked meat in it. Because a lot of times they'll come out rubbery if you don't do it right. And rubbery bologna is not a pretty thing, family. This is not pretty.
Fair enough.
You be slap it against the wall, it stick. You try to throw it in the trash can, you might miss throwing, you hit somebody in the face, and it ain't coming off. So it will mess your world up. So leave the bologna to the professionals.
Fair enough.
Okay. So, a cooking mishap. Now, I remember, what was I telling you about Uncle Pork Bottoms?
Yep, that's the one I was waiting for.
Okay, but what was it again? Because he had so many, I'm trying to remember which one.
He had so many.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he does cook with oil and stuff a lot because he's making those.
He tried to make Beef Wellington one time. All right. Now, Beef Wellington, for those who do not know, is hard to make and expensive to buy. And he tried to make it one time with a meatloaf. And he bought some of that from the frozen food section, the stuff that you would like pastry puff put on top of that.
Yeah.
So he was over there wrapping that up and everything else. So, and he layered some olive oil in it, right? Well, his stove is a gas stove.
Uh-huh.
And Uncle Pork Bottoms loves to wear overalls. Just dirty old drawers, overalls. And the way his stove is, he had opened the stove up because it was outside. He had opened the stove up, and when he did it while he was bending over to reach for something else. Well, the Earl from the meatloaf caught fire, and as soon as he opened up, the oxygen hit it, it blew out the rear parts of his pants.
What?
And he did not realize it blew out the real parts of his pants. He just happened to turn around because it was like one big flash. And he just happened to turn around. And when he turned around, he said, that meatloaf smelling good. That was your rear end smelling like that. It smelled like fried, burnt bologna is what it smelled like. Do I?
That's hilarious. Like, it's hilarious and scary all at the same time. But, like...
Oh, well, yeah. What's scary now is the fact this man evidently don't have no nerve endings in his rear end because he did not understand that the back of his drawers was gone. And so he reaches down in there, he grabs his meatloaf, Beef Wellington, which is awful. Ugh. And he gets it out there. It looked good. Now, that's a weird thing. It looked good. And he goes, starts cutting into it, and he was like, we may need to go on in the house because I feel a chill coming. And, we don't want to be eating outside when it's cold. And everybody was like, started laughing at him, and he was like, this ain't no funny matter. We're going to have this Beef Wellington. We need to have it in a gracious place. And my auntie said, you do realize that half your business is hanging out while you reaching in there trying to get that meatloaf? I don't know what you talking about. And so he reaches back, and he's showing up a hole in his pants.
Didn't feel a draft.
He didn't feel no draft. I asked him, I said, your butt must be so crusty. It cannot feel nothing, can it? I mean,
it's just giving up at this point.
Do you need to go get a bikini wax back there? Because that jungle, you ain't getting nothing through that rainforest. And so he goes and, he's like, oh, Lord. I said, no. Auntie Wiggs was like, you done touched the butt now. You can't be touching that meatloaf. So she goes over there and picks up the meatloaf. So she puts it on the counter. And to this day, we don't know if this was what really happened or what. But it accidentally fell on the floor.
Oh, darn.
And
I think how you're like, we don't know. For real.
We don't know.
Yeah.
My bet is she emptied it. But she's also the type will tell you real quick, I ain't like the mess. I'm throwing it in the trash.
Yeah.
So I think it was really an accident.
Yeah.
So she threw it away when she
seems like an honest gal.
She overly honest, like I am.
Yeah.
But problem is, she threw it in the trash can, and it was still hot with that grease, and some of that was still on fire, and it caught the trash can on fire. And then the pork bottoms act like he's just ignorant to the whole thing, and he's like, "What's that smell? You done messed up my pork." My Beef Wellington and all this other, you messed it all up and everything, you burnt it and all that. And Auntie Wiggs was like, you the one burnt it, and so glad you had no bubble gut at that same time. The whole house would have burnt down with that burst of flame. It was a mess. And so we wound up not eating there. We wound up going to another restaurant, which I think that secretly that's what Auntie Wiggs wanted to do, is going to a restaurant to eat. She didn't really... Uncle Pork Bottoms is a good cook when it comes to outdoor stuff.
Yeah, like pork rinds.
Like pork rinds. That's right. Nachos, fries, and things like that. But when it comes to more elegant stuff, like a Beef Wellington that you do not need to be making with no meatloaf, I don't know what he was thinking. No, don't do that with him. Don't do that with him.
Now, Auntie Big Toe, Auntie Wiggs, are they good cooks?
They are phenomenal cooks because they got years of practice and years of messing up.
Fair.
Auntie Big Toe tried to make homemade donuts one time, and she's in that kitchen and she's putting everything in there. I'm like, she almost put a toe in it. It was that good. And she goes and she's stirring up. And what you're supposed to do is take some and just drop it in the oil and let it start frying up, and then the hole will form after that, right? So she was doing that. She didn't realize that she put too many in at one time because she was yapping her mouth like she normally does. Well, there was too many in there and it spilled the grease on the fire of the stove, and that caught the back of the stove on fire, and it caught the hood vent on top to catch fire too.
Oh my goodness.
Funny thing is though, is that the donuts were safe. She got to the donuts. She saved those donuts before she ever saved that kitchen.
She had priorities.
I guess so. So she, while the back of the stove was burning, she put a little powdered sugar on the donuts to make sure they looked good for her guests. So there was that. Fire department was called. She got herself a new oven, a new everything, and she still talks about how this is where her man met. And I said, "What man you talking about?" the donuts. She said, "Yeah, that's the only relationship I need."
I love that.
Now, Auntie Wiggs, I ain't never seen nobody mess up a school ham and cheese sandwich before, but she did because she got too fancy with it. She's putting, she got her brioche bread, which what child cares anything about that? She got her brioche bread, aioli mayonnaise sauce.
Aioli.
Oh. Mayonnaise.
I mean, she's a gal. She knows her stuff.
She's from the hood. No, she shouldn't be doing that. She tried it. Listen to him. So she spread that on there. It looked good. Tasted good. Tasted a little bit. Then she takes her ham that was, sliced very delicately. She put that on there. Then she put pepperoni on there. Then she put a layer of cheese. Then she decided she's going to put some broccoli on top of it because the little baby needed some green stuff.
She's starting to lose me in hair.
Yeah. And then she put, what's that? The alfalfa. No, asparagus. She puts asparagus on it.
Asparagus.
Nasty.
Now the alfalfa makes sense.
No. The asparagus I thought made sense too. But it hanging outside the bread.
No.
Bread already is getting soggy now because of all this mess. So then she goes and she said, "You know what? I'm going to try me a piece of this because it looks so delicious." And she takes one slice of cucumber and puts it on top and makes sure it's on there with a toothpick. So she put toothpick on. So she goes and she takes one bite of that and she vomited everywhere. She said, I don't know who made that. You did. That's who made that. What you talking about?
Lost me at broccoli and asparagus.
She did. She put broccoli and asparagus. Now, I remember we used to make like ham and cheese sandwiches with crushed up potato chips.
Oh, well, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, I put potato chips in my sandwiches all the time.
Who wouldn't?
Yeah.
That's just it.
Like your tuna, your egg salad, your ham sandwich.
Mm-hmm.
You just put that chip in there as you're eating. You need the extra crunch, even if there's lettuce in there.
And then you dip the sandwich in the soup, and then when you got it too salty, it's like this ain't good. You get a potato and you cut it in half, you put it in there so it'll drain up some of the salt.
Yeah, but I draw the line at I don't want broccoli in my sandwiches or asparagus.
No.
Huh?
Wow. I'm not a fan of asparagus. It can make your tinkle smell like you diseased or something. Mm-mm.
No, that's too much for me.
No. Let's see. Jennifer Jennifer had made, when she was younger, she made braised chicken for her daddy for dinner one time.
Oh, that's sweet.
I thought it was so sweet too until it was raw. She put it on that table and it was raw, and even her daddy called her out. Tom, who made the chicken? That chicken all messed up. So like, who made the chicken? She's about in tears. She said, "I made it." Oh. And to this day, that woman still talks about the chicken massacre of 1970 something or 80 something. I can't remember what it was.
She pull out a thermometer now every time.
No, she made me cook chicken. I am the official egg cooker and chicken cooker.
Official egg and chicken cooker.
Because when Jennifer, I love you, baby. If you're watching this, I apologize. I'm just speaking the truth. She will make the eggs like sunny side up. Don't ask her to do that. She'll do it scrambled, but it ain't all the way done.
Oh.
All right. So I'll step in and I'll make my eggs in like a cast iron skillet with very little oil in it.
Yeah.
You see some people, they put that egg stuff and it's floating in the water.
Yeah.
It's too much oil. So you put a light layer of oil in it, and then you put the egg in. Now I love because I pop an egg with just one hand.
Oh,
right,
yeah.
pop, open it up, bam,
Fancy.
there it is. I am fancy.
Pinky up.
And so it took me a while though because I had disasters with it constantly because it was either pop, it'd get fried up too much, burnt, whatever. Finally learned, and so I took the egg, put it in there. I make 2 for her, and I put it on low heat. You don't want them cooking up too fast, and then you start seasoning them and everything. Wait until you're close to the end before you put pepper on it because the pepper will turn the white part of the egg like a gray. So it doesn't look so fresh.
Yeah.
So there was that and some other things. Well, somebody else had got the same idea about how to do that, and they sent me a video and said, Ricky, is this how you make the eggs in the cast iron skillet? It was flamed up.
What?
Cast iron skillet fell on the floor.
Oh my goodness.
And the egg rolled. When I say the egg rolled, the egg was still in the shell, and it rolled underneath the table. And when it finally did pop, it was still boiling inside. He forgot that he did not take it out of the shell.
Oh.
So it's just sitting in there like that, yeah. Now, I don't like I said, I don't know who's. That's why you can't eat at some people's house. You can't eat.
It's like the theme.
It is a major thing. I went to a restaurant one time, and they were like, "Oh yeah, we make our tea fresh and everything else." And I tasted that tea. I said, I took myself behind that counter into the kitchen, and I made them tea, and I showed them how to make tea right.
Really?
Yeah, because they messed up altogether. Just tore it up.
How did they mess it up? What were they doing?
Not
Did you
putting
find
enough
out?
sugar in it. They didn't let the tea simmer, so you didn't get the real tea flavor.
Oh.
And then the tea they tried to serve was more than a day old.
Oh.
Now, when you have a hot environment, tea will spoil real fast, and then the big metal round urn or whatever it's called. Is it called an urn?
I don't know, but I know what you're talking
But
about.
yeah, it's got the spout.
Yeah.
These people did not take it apart at night and didn't clean the gunk off of it because
That's
sugar will build up mold.
Yeah.
And so, I went in and I told him, I said, look, you can't do this. And I said, oh, well, we're supposed to be doing that every night. Well, you don't because there's mold on it.
Ugh.
And it was just a nightmare.
Yeah, you can't eat at some people's house.
But while I was back in the kitchen, I saw some things that I said, nope, I will not. They kept rice on the floor.
Yeah. We call that floor rice here. I said my dad and our family call it floor rice.
Okay, well, this was
We
not
don't
a
do it.
clean restaurant.
The thing is, and
This is a clean restaurant.
Restaurants especially, like, it needs the upkeep minute to minute because the second it starts falling behind, like, it starts to go. Like, we're so conscious about everything that we're doing, and we clean consistently throughout the day. We have, and my dad really prides himself that, like, the people that come and inspect our restaurant, they actually eat here, and they don't typically do that at places. But yeah, we will read reports of, like, rice on floor, and we call it floor rice from other restaurants and stuff. It's a thing.
Did you ever watch National Lampoon's, was it Christmas Vacation or whatever? The one where it showed the turkey busting open. It was so dry. There was nothing in it.
Yeah.
A friend of mine's grandmama did that one time.
What? That can actually happen?
They dried that thing out so much because what she did was she's from, I forgot which Scandinavian country, and so she took the chicken and she salted the chicken and let it sit in a bag with salt. And so when she went to cook it, it was so dry that when she took it out of the oven and the oven moved, the pan moved,
Yeah.
the thing popped open and it just went, oh.
It just breathed.
It breathed on people. And it had salty breath,
Oh
and
my
the meat was gone. It was ate up. So, But she didn't know. She just thought it was
Yeah.
like the other stuff that she was
Right.
brought up to do. So,
That's
because she
crazy.
didn't know. What about you?
Cooking disasters?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm sure I've had some.
And
It's
I'm sure I
funny,
have some, but I'm not going to tell you.
I'm trying to actually think of one, and I can't offhand. But I thought it was funny when you were talking about you and Jennifer, and you're like, I'm the official egg person. Like, I
I'm the
love
egg
how
person.
in relationships, like, that becomes a thing. I do that with my husband, too. Like, he has to make very specific things.
I think there has to be something like that because otherwise one person's doing cooking all the time,
Yeah.
and you start resenting that person.
And one of those things is eggs, which I thought was really funny.
I love making
Scrambled eggs, I'm a pro at, but it's the sunny side up eggs. They always get stuck. It doesn't matter how much oil I put in, I swear.
Well, y'all don't really eat grits in your house, do you?
No.
All right. So I make the grits, eggs, and bacon are what I call the EVG mount or volcano, EVG volcano. And so
volcano.
EVG volcano, and I make my grits, and I'll tell you how to do it. I do it, and I'll tell you how somebody else did it for the disaster part. So I make my grits, and I make it with chicken broth, bay leaves, and some other seasonings.
Okay.
And so I get that real done, and then I got my bacon in the cast iron skillet, and I get that done. I drain the grease for later, but I get my bacon real crunchy, and I crunch the bacon up all into the grits. Stir it up, add a whole stick of butter because I'm like that. Some people will add sour cream to it to give it a little bit of different texture. I think it takes away from the grit taste and the flavor. But so then you take the leftover bacon grease, you pour that into the cast iron skillet after you clean it, and then you put on low heat, and then you fry up your eggs. And when you do that, then you put the egg in there, sunny side up. By doing it like that, there's such a beautiful sheen over those eggs. I'm telling you, and it doesn't cook fast, so nothing's bubbling and runny. Everything's smooth around, and it almost looks like you drew it, like a cartoon.
Yeah.
So you take a big old scoop of grits with the bacon, put that into the bowl. Take 2 eggs, put that in there. Take another layer of grits, put on top of that, and then you let that cool off on top a little bit. So when you take your fork or your spoon, which I like spoons, you push into the center, all the egg pops out like a volcano.
Very nice.
Little babies love it. Little kids love it.
Yeah.
So that's how I do it at home. I had a friend of mine said that he wanted to try doing it for his family. He tore that place up. Number one, he got the grits too hot. He thought it was that kind of food you stick your finger in and you taste it. Grits get like astronomically Mars hot. And he had almost a 3rd-degree burn on his finger.
Oh my goodness.
And then who wants to eat burnt up finger grits?
Yeah, right.
Do you want to eat finger grits?
No.
No, don't. So I think there may be some flesh in there too. So then he tried to fry up the bacon. When he tried to fry up the bacon, he put the bacon eye on too hot. And so all that did was just cause grease and oil to just spew out, popping, and it got into the flame underneath it, caused that to catch fire. He was talking about doing the eggs, so he did, since he messed up that, he took the eggs and cooked it in the microwave.
Oh, no.
And he went and he had it on a plate, took the plate out, and his finger accidentally hit it, and when it hit it, he said,
No.
He picked the egg up, and he was able to just shake it, and he put it on. So he had toe-up grits with finger flesh in it. He had
Rubber eggs.
burnt old bacon. He had eggs that were like Frisbees. And then he tried to feed that to people. And he said, you got to be out your mind. There ain't no way I'm eating that. No way.
There was one story that you were trying to think of earlier that I just remembered that you kind of started telling me before the podcast. And it was about Uncle Pork Bottoms and hibachi.
Another piece? Oh, sure. When we went to the Japanese restaurant. Oh, my God.
That's the one you were trying to remember.
All right, so Uncle Pork Bottoms. I love Uncle Pork Bottoms. He's just a redneck backcountry guy. He cooks homemade pork rinds, like I told y'all a million times. But we decided to take him to a hibachi one time. And so he put on his best, which was shorts and a polo shirt. And so he goes in there, and you know how some of the hibachi places, they'll take that egg and they'll put it on the end of the metal spatula and they'll throw it at you so you to catch or whatever. They threw it at him. It hit, cracked across his forehead, dripped down his nose, down to the hibachi place, and the hibachi grill caught fire, and the flame caught the egg juice on fire and went straight up into his nose. And so all of a sudden they had all this beautiful food on there. And this is a situation like I had, earlier on Thanksgiving, where he went to blow the fire out of his nose, and egg and booger went all over the hibachi place. They had to close that one section of the hibachi so they can desanitize and everything else. And they told him to leave, that McDonald's was around the corner.
I mean, fair.
Well, but the rest of us, we didn't do nothing wrong. My chunky self
guilty by association.
I wanted my chicken and grits. Or not grits.
I was like, they serve
shrimp.
grits
I wanted my
in a hibachi.
Some do in the South.
In the South? No, they don't. Do they really?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I've
never been to like a hibachi where they...
It's so good.
I love that you love it and it's like gluten-free.
We gotta talk about this. Alright, I know we wanted to talk about disasters, but with Jennifer having celiac disease, finding gluten-free food is hard. Now, there are some places that, even though they say they have gluten-free, the environment's not that gluten-free.
Correct.
So
That's us.
they have to be careful because you're right, you got flour flying all over the place.
Yeah, and I mean, technically, like, places that have gluten-free for people who have celiac disease, they have a separate kitchen. We're just not big enough for that. So
Right.
we try to help where we can.
And it is what it is. But if you have a gluten intolerance or you have you're on a gluten-free diet, which is very healthy for your gut, then this right here is phenomenal. I love that crust.
Yeah.
What is it again?
It's roasted cauliflower crust.
Oh, cauliflower?
I know, it tastes so good. I'm not gonna lie, I sometimes prefer this crust to having just our standard thin crust. I always prefer our original over everything because it's fluffy and amazing and we make it daily. But I will prefer the gluten-free thin crust over our normal thin crust sometimes.
There's something said about that. Because something to be said about that. I'm sorry. Because Jennifer discovered, like at Hy-Vee, they got Glutino Oreos.
Yeah.
Those are phenomenal.
Are they really? I haven't had them yet.
They are, in fact, I'm sorry, Oreo. I think they better.
Really? And aren't they like vegan too?
I don't know. I ain't worried about
There's
that.
something.
I ain't worried about it. I'm just talking about the gluten-free. Those are phenomenal.
Oh, I gotta go get some now.
There are some other things that we get, like Tate's cookies that you get from that have the gluten-free ones. Those are phenomenal.
Nice.
So gluten-free has gotten to a point to where it's still expensive. It shouldn't be that expensive. Once they start pricing it like everything else, then they'll see more buyers. But for those people like Jennifer who have to eat them, to know that she can get something like an Oreo cookie that is just utterly phenomenal.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And locally. Now, I remember when we could buy Martha White flour for 84 cents for a 5-pound bag. To buy the Bisquick gluten-free flour, for 8 ounces, one box has an 8-ounce tiny little bag, is $8.
That's wild.
And
it's $1 an ounce.
It was like $8.99. They have gone down to, I think, $5 or $4.99. So they've gone down a lot.
Yeah.
But to think that you are not putting gluten in the product, so you're taking away an aspect of it, and it costs you that much more. It's crazy. And that's how my brain thinks. It's like, you're not putting everything in it. So
They're just replacing it with other things.
they just bet. A lot of the cooking disasters that I have seen has been when it comes to grease fires and stuff like that.
I imagine too, like the South is like grease heavy with the frying and stuff. So I imagine it's common.
Thank you, Jesus. Yeah.
Yeah, I imagine it's pretty
Well, my
common.
grandmama, my daddy's mama used to make homemade chicken and dumplings.
Mm-hmm.
She also made homemade hash.
That sounds good.
And
I
she,
know we're eating, and we've had a lot of food, but that sounds good.
And she would make homemade baklava. And Jennifer makes homemade baklava too.
Ooh.
But when it came to the homemade chicken and dumplings, she had this big old red bowl that she had on the stove. She had her water boiling, and she'd get all that stuff going. You know, she'd have all her flour out. She'd make her dumplings. She'd make her chicken. And she went to put the dumplings in the water so to boil up. She had her chicken already done and doing all this other stuff. And she got all boiled. She put everything on the plate. And then she realized she didn't use flour. She used a dry plaster by accident.
Dry plaster?
It was a dry plaster.
Oh my gosh.
That you're supposed to add water to it, and it turns into a plaster mix for the walls. So she didn't know that was all. What was she grabbed? She just grabbed the first thing she saw in her own cabinet, and she didn't put that there. And
awful.
I'm like, Grandma, you didn't feel the texture? She said, I won't worry about that. I put the buttermilk in there and all this other stuff. It felt the same. And she said, I thought it was a little tacky. You know how you touch it and it tacks to your fingers. She said, I thought it was a little on the tacky side. She said, but other than that, I went to bite into that and I tasted drywall. You talking about she cussed everybody out. In fact, especially her husband, my granddad, she went looking for him. And when she couldn't find him, she called him at his office. Because this was way before cell phone. And she called him at his office and she cussed that man out. She said, I can't believe you put drywall powder in my cabinet. I ain't put no drywall cabinet in your GD cabinet and this. Well, you need to find out who did it. You not come home. Click. She hung up. He called her back about an hour later. She said, I found out who did it. One of your sons did it. Oh, no, that's your son too. Not mine today. That's your son. He needed a place to put it, and so he did it. That's all it was. So when he got home, now mind you, they almost grown at this point. When he got home, she whooped his rear end. And fed him the dumplings. Said,
Oh
here,
my gosh.
I want you to try this dumpling. This goes so good.
It's so good.
He tried it. He spit it out. What did you just feed me? Your mistake is what I just fed you. So, yeah, there's something to be said about disasters.
Yeah, for
that was
sure.
one of them right there. So, all right, well, look here. That is another episode of Ricky's Big World. I hope you had fun and learned what not to do when cooking, okay? I have to tell you something else a bit later on another episode. But anyway, but we'll leave the light on and the front door unlocked for you, okay? But do not touch my stove or nothing in my kitchen. You understand me? All right. You gonna eat another piece?
Probably.
Probably. All right. We're gonna sit here and we're gonna finish eating the gluten-free pizza. Bye. All right. That is so good.